Oh, this is dirty. Hello, my dear gardeners! Are you thinking to introduce tulips into your garden for the first time? Well, there are several important things which the beginner gardener must know about growing tulips, so let's save you from those future disappointments and learn all things tulips today. Well, let's clear the air about the longevity of tulips right away. I think Margot was asking me that question, how to introduce tulips successfully in the garden and how long do they last? Well, when we talk about longevity, all the tulips, I would divide them in 3 different categories. And it is important to know what you want to do and which tulips to buy. So the first category would be tulips which are lasting only for 1 year in your garden. Majority of bulbs which are sold commercially are annual tulips. You treat them as annuals, and I do have a little bit of issue with that, this kind of disposable way of treating a plant. So since there are so many different hybrids, people want bigger and better blooms. Of course, in the garden everything has to be covered with blooms. Humans are not satisfied with species tulips, the small ones under 6 inches, which are, by the way, breathtaking, beautiful can be. We want bigger, better, and some tulips, they can be of the shape of peonies. So those are bred to put all their force into one season. And since tulips originated in Middle Asia, Mediterranean region, and our North American climate is not really suited for them to be perennials. Plus, all the bulbs which are grown in Holland and Denmark, the 2 main countries producing tulips, majority of tulip bulbs for the rest of the world, they do not let tulips flower for the first year. This way, tulips are conserving all that energy. Then they're shipped to our gardens, and then we have that beautiful bloom for the first year. And since North American climate is not dry bone, hot in summer, it is cold in winter, but here, especially in Connecticut, we are very conditions are very humid. We are in the coastal area here. Tulips are not really growing well here, those beautiful hybrids. So we treat them as annuals. So what happens? We buy tulips in the fall, plant them into the soil before winter, and then in spring tulips are doing their show. We throw them away, and we plant something else in that area. What happens if we wouldn't throw them away? Well, next year tulips might bloom, but their bloom will not be as beautiful, or there will be just foliage, and so year after year they will just diminish in size and will disappear. Okay, so this is first class of tulips. Hybrids, modern hybrids, which are bred to make a show for 1 year only, and then we dispose of them. Second class, and I'm in favor of this class and the third one. The second class is tulips, for example, Darwin tulips. They are more of a perennial, so they will last in the garden for 3-4 years, and people who want them to have tulips for a longer time in the garden should devote their attention to these groups of tulips. And then there is a third group, which is truly perennial plants, and if they like it, the conditions in your garden, they're going to naturalize. So the bulbs will create little bulblets, and tulips will multiply, and there will be more and more every year in your garden. And my latest obsession, let me tell you, here I have a list in my garden book. I have a list of plants for the future garden. I'm reading some wonderful garden books, and this particular gardener loved species tulips. Tulip White Triumphator. I looked at it, that tulip online. Oh my gosh. And usually species tulips are very small. Some of them are not garden worthy, but some are beautiful. And this White Triumphator is a taller variety, I think around 20 inches. And the graceful habit of that tulip, the shape of it, oh my gosh, it really, it has a superior form, superior shape. And I'm surprised that species tulips are not very popular in the commerce. Well, again, people are not really doing the research what they're buying, and whatever is easier to sell is being sold. So gardeners do not do their research, and they introduce something which doesn't last in their garden, which is forced for in-house bloom. For example, these tulips, I picked them up at the local home improvement center, and they are forced in the pot to be blooming in the house. So if I would want to plant them in the garden, since they are forced, they're not going to bloom very well. So any forced bulbs, they do that forcing takes away from the longevity of the bulb in tulips. Well, let's talk about the bulb. What is a bulb and what is the life of the bulb? Well, bulb is the part of the plant organ which is underground, right? And which is designed to collect energy, to help the plant to withstand the very dry summer conditions and very cold winter conditions. So what is important for all true bulbs, because tulips are true bulbs? They need dormancy, and dormancy, quite long dormancy, sometimes 14, 16 weeks. So we're talking about 3.5, 4 months of cold temperature. So bad news for gardeners in warmer zones where winters are not cold. They have to pre-chill their bulbs. And very often people don't do it. They just buy already pre-chilled bulbs and plant them out. And again, if you are in warmer zones, you're going to treat plants, tulips, as annuals. So from the very beginning of growing, thinking of introducing tulips, you have to decide which side you're in. Are you going to treat tulips as annuals and go into all these beautiful colors, shapes, tons of choices online? Or you will be maybe like me in the middle, species tulips, and then a pot or two of lollipops to delight me in the garden. For example, last year I planted these wonderful orange tulips. I'm not sure they will be coming up this year because they were growing in raised beds, and raised beds were usually not dry bone in the summer. And tulips do like very good drainage. They do not like waterlogged conditions. So I enjoyed those beautiful tulips in spring, and they were so wonderful there, those spots of orange color at the back near my sofa area. So I'm in that second category where I will combine perennial tulips with annual tulips. And then you can go only for species tulips, and your choice would be minimal. You will have probably much smaller plants, but some gardeners, believe it or not, consider those true beauties. They go only for species tulips. Important points on buying tulips. The best time to place your orders would be in spring, summer for next year. Majority of bulbs are shipped into the United States at the end of summer, September, and a lot of online catalogs, nurseries are taking orders ahead of time. And when you do your ordering ahead of time, you have all the choices because some tulip varieties are sold out. So you do all your thinking for next year in spring. So this spring, we are thinking about next spring. We are placing our orders. The order will arrive in the fall before the cold weather settles in. We plant all our tulips out. And usually the planting depth is, it's easy to remember, 3 by 3. So 3 sizes down from the size of the bulb. So if you have a bulb this size, you count 3 heights of that bulb and you plant it to that depth. If you plant the tulip too low, tulip might not bloom. And then 3 sizes of the bulb width between the bulbs. Okay, and they usually like to tell you to plant tulips in a, like you throw the tulips on the ground and you plant it there for them not to be like soldiers marching in the row, which is every gardener has their own styles and the way they want to grow their tulips. I also believe that every gardener should do whatever they want and feel like in their gardens. My garden is a little bit quirky and I like it that way. All right, so that's important. And another thing, you have to make sure the tulips are planted in very soil with good drainage. Tulips do not like waterlogged conditions, especially through the winter where water is stagnant. The bulbs will rot and your beauties are not going to come back a year after year. So in my conditions here, we have very sandy soils. That's not an issue. But for some people who are gardening on clay soils, you might want to invest into that quality of your soil where it's porous, it drains well, and you can plant your tulips. So as you can see, a good research is super important. Don't go to the store and you want tulips, you buy tulips. Research what tulips are those and decide to yourself what tulips you would like. All right, my dear gardeners. Today, by the way, is the last cold day in the garden. I wanted to go outside and I realized in order to garden, I have to put my gloves on, I have to put my hat on, and I have to put my coat on. And I do not want to do it. The other day I went to the store and I stubbornly bought myself a summer hat. I'm going to show it to you right there. Here we go. Because I want desperately for spring to come. Look at this. And I can do this. It will shield me against the sun. Oh, spring comes. All right, I will see you in our next video. Happy gardening. Oopsie. I forgot to show you how I am going to organize these tulips for Easter. I kind of don't like this plastic container, so here I picked up at secondhand this little wicker basket, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to place it in, and I'm going to put a little dry moss around. It's going to be messy, but it is worth it.